We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Gervonta Davis's team speaks out against Jake Paul. The glove size. The fight is already having some problems. In this video, I'm going to break it down and give you guys my thoughts. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, some people, and it's so funny to be an online personality, right? Where people make speculations. They don't really know you in real life. They don't know nothing about you. But based on what you present, based on what you provide, they act like they know everything, right? Such is the case, you know, people have said, oh, you're unfair to this fighter or that fighter, or you show a bias for this fighter, right? One of those fighters that y'all be crying about is Gervonta Davis, right? And I told you guys on my channel, I've been doing this for a long time. I am the GOAT. I am a pioneer. If I don't really have anything to say, that's probably why. It's not that I don't see everything that goes on in my sport. It's if I don't have nothing to provide the conversation or anything that I want to add on, then I probably won't make content about it. You see what I'm saying? And that's how it's always been. And it's funny because you got the naysayers, the usual suspects, the low quality content, the stutterers, right? And they'll say stuff like, oh, Ego, you love Gervonta Davis. But then when I don't talk about Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul, you got people in the comment section saying, oh, aren't you going to talk about the press conference? I didn't even really watch the press conference. I only seen highlights of it. You guys have to understand, I'm a businessman. I'm working on other things behind the scenes. So the point I'm making is very simple. People say you're obsessed with Gervonta Davis, but then I'm not even talking about it or really even concerned with some of the stuff that's going on. You know, I'll get to it when I get to it kind of thing. And then they're begging for my opinion on Gervonta Davis. So it goes to show you, I understand Gervonta said that he wasn't the face of boxing. He's just a guy that boxes. But it just shows you that he's a big ticket and people are paying attention to what he does. And that's everybody. Shakur Stevenson can't do an interview without mentioning Gervonta Davis's name, other people, so on and so forth. But today's video, Calvin Ford posted this. We'll get through the message, but there's trouble in paradise over the glove size, right? Calvin Ford says, hey, I had a chance to ask Jake Paul and his team the question, where did the 12-ounce gloves come from? And they said it came from our side. The reason why I asked him that was because they want a win or a loss in the exhibition fight. Traditionally, in an exhibition fight, there's no winner or loser. I was just asking because I'm concerned about the size of the gloves. Jake wears 10 ounces and Tank wears 8 ounces. Tank is giving up 4 ounces and Jake is only giving up 2 ounces. Jake said in the interview that he wanted to be great. If he wanted to be great, he should wear 10 ounces, Tank wear 8 ounces. His rep said Jake is willing to wear 10 ounces, but they said no to Tank wearing 8 ounces. The representative for Jake's team said they weren't doing mixed match gloves. Well, dang, we got a mixed match weight, so why can't we have mixed match gloves? When Floyd fought his brother, Logan, they had 10-ounce gloves on. Dang, y'all doing the same thing y'all did to Mike Tyson with all these restrictions. But I understand they are the A side, but we are God's side. Food for thought for the inquisitive minds of boxers. Now, I mean, to be honest, I don't know what this is about because this should have already been kind of hashed out before the fight was announced, in my opinion. right? If you wanted gloves this size, I mean, clearly everybody agreed to whatever they agreed to. So they're going to have to figure this out. Ultimately, this is a pretty weird fight considering the size differential. I think everybody's pointed that out. But I blame a couple people. And I've said it before, but in case you missed those videos, I'll explain why. One person I blame is Canelo Alvarez. The other person I blame is Turki Al-Sheikh. And finally, I blame you, the fans. And I will break down for the remainder of the video. Make sure you guys thumb up the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I'll break down each of those statements and qualify it. So Canelo's easy. He was supposed to fight Jake Paul. To me, where Canelo is at, that would have made more sense. Plus, he's a bigger dude, so it wouldn't look as crazy in terms of size differential if you had Canelo and Jake Paul, right? Canelo has fought as high as 175. So if he were to fight 190, Canelo himself said he was open to fight at cruiserweight. So he would have been right there, 190, 200 pounds, when he wanted to fight Makbouk Air. Did we get him? It does smell like ish, doesn't it? Right? So Canelo, this is not something that Canelo himself hasn't flirted with the idea of at a point in time. And I know it sounds crazy, but you could do your own independent research. Canelo even said he was open to fight Usyk at a point in time. And we know that was cap, that he wouldn't, but that's what he said, right? If Bevo's beating the brakes off you, and then now a welterweight Crawford and little Floyd, then you don't want to fight a bigger 6'3" Usyk. We know that, and a southpaw. But I don't want to get distracted. So the point I'm making is this was Canelo's issue. And judging from how he looked versus welterweight Crawford, he should have took the Jake Paul fight, which is what I said from the beginning. Again, just like the Tank fight, it would have been a big novelty fight. Jake Paul had been calling out Canelo Alvarez. It would have attracted a large crowd, and size-wise, it would have made more sense. And it wouldn't have pulled the other star, Gervonta Davis, to fill a void left by Canelo, and he could have fought Lamont Roach or whatever with the rematch. But Canelo, at the 11th hour, left Jake Paul and PBC and Netflix hanging and did a deal with the Saudis. So speaking of Saudis, this is why I blame Turkey, because Turkey was the one who couldn't accept the fact that Canelo had a big fight, PBC had a big fight, Jake Paul had a big fight with Netflix. So he got in the way of it and offered him whatever, and Canelo took the bait, which within his second fight, he's losing to Crawford. So kind of a raw deal, if you ask me. Pay is cool, but now look at Canelo. You took the pay and made all this money, but then people are saying they don't want to watch you anymore. You're done. Retire. You Max Kellerman just said that Canelo won't be remembered as the greatest fighter ever. So to me, him losing to another slick fighter, he hasn't shown that he could beat that style, and he hasn't shown no adjustments to an American style or, certain people, basically. So he's definitely not the greatest Mexican fighter ever. So you taking the money, now you put yourself out of those conversations for good. It was never a conversation to me, because I never thought Canelo was the greatest Mexican fighter ever, but to some, but now you've ruined it. So that's why I blame Canelo. That's why I blame Turkey, because if Turkey would have just accepted it, Canelo would have fought Jake Paul, which to me still makes more sense than, because Canelo already has a crazy resume. He didn't have a Lamont Roach type resume rematch that people were looking forward to, and that was that. Now, finally, I said I'm blaming the fans. Yes, the fans. And I've already went over this, but again, in case you missed those videos, the reason I am blaming fans, Because for years, your boy Ego told you, hey, if you love boxing, if you love the sport, give back to the sport. Cherish the sport. Share the sport. Turn your friends on to the sport. And most importantly, pay for the sport. But we've gotten to this weakened, broke society where people, they want a little bit of something for nothing. And now people are just illegally streaming and not buying some of these events, even when it's good. Now, I'm not telling you like Moses Atuma just fought Dillian White. Now, to me, that's not really a pay-per-view fight. It isn't. So I'm not telling you which fights you can and can't buy. That's up to you. However, you have diehard boxing fans who be arguing in the comment section time and time again with everybody, going back and forth, dedicating, putting like fighters and boxers as their profile pictures. They're watching all the shows, but then they don't, when it comes to the actual supporting of the sport, they don't do it. And it's not just a pay-per-view. Go out. Some of the fights have come to your cities. Go out, support it, buy a ticket for you and your girl, right? This is how boxing grows. So this is why I'm blaming the fans, because right now the economy is looking trash. You got Trump with these tariffs. You got all types of stuff going on, businesses closing, restaurants closing that have been open 50 plus years. We're getting it a lot out here in the Bay Area. And at the end of the day, that's where the economy is at. So now these networks they don't have a surplus of money where they're looking to like have an experiment. They're looking for a sure shot bet. These people in suits don't care about boxing. I'm assuming, like the big wigs at Netflix. You think they're diehard boxing fans? Probably not. You know what I mean? So they're looking for the biggest names and the biggest spectacles and the most attention, right? UFC almost did a deal, and now I'm dropping gems. UFC almost did a deal because they left ESPN. So Netflix, before it was Paramount, which they finally decided on, they were looking at Netflix as a potential home. The only problem is Netflix wanted pretty much the pay-per-view worthy events, and then they didn't want none of the UFC's like smaller fight cards, right? So that became a deal breaker, and Dana White ended up going to Paramount because Netflix didn't want the investment of the whole UFC package. They're probably just looking for, you know, the bigger shows, like if Conor McGregor retires and stuff. So they're clearly trying to make a profit, and here we are, Jake Paul and Tank. So for years of piracy and some of y'all not supporting when you could have, right? When you could have, but you spend money on snacks and weed and all this other stuff, drank and tricking on OnlyFans. You know what I mean? People spend stuff on that, but they wouldn't give back to boxing. Now look where we're at. And this is what the networks are looking for. Now some of them are looking for, hey, we want a sure shot. Weird Mike Tyson ain't fought in 20 years, but he's going to fight this young 26-year-old Jake Paul. And that's what we're getting more and more of. You guys let these influencers and misfits and all this stuff come in and outperform in terms of like selling the show and pushing each other. And now we're here. Now this is what it is. So enjoy. This is what you guys deserve.